again. Welcome back to another little chat with me and probably Muffin, although he's asleep on the chair at the moment. I think you can just see the top, if I point over there, the top of him there. I went to see the Barbie movie this week, and a number of my friends have said, why don't I give my thoughts on that, like a movie review, film review. And I don't know, I've never done one before, and I don't know if it'll be interesting to anybody, but here you go. Barbie movie. I quite enjoyed it. I didn't think it was wonderful or terrible. I loved the visual appearance of it, so I really enjoyed the design. I enjoyed the replicas of the Barbie houses and things like that. I thought it was all good fun. I always wanted a Barbie when I was little. I think they came out around about the same time as I did, the early 60s, and they were very, very expensive in England, and I only knew a couple of people who had one. We had an English replica, an English doll called Cindy. I think I had one of those, but it was never quite the same. The main reason you wanted a Barbie was because then you could buy Barbie clothes and she would wear those. So in the film, Barbie's presented as a role model for little girls because she could be anything she wants to be. She could be a politician, she could be an engineer, she could be a nurse, she could be a doctor, she can be a judge, she could be a stay-at-home mother like Midge, who's a doll I'd forgotten about. But I'm not convinced. That's where it falls down for me. I'm not convinced that Barbie's actually ever been thought of as a role model. Mattel likes to try and market her as a role model, but I don't think she's ever been thought of as a role model. Typically, Barbie is portrayed as a blonde-headed, sort of silly woman with a stereotypical attractive woman's body. And interestingly, the main character of Barbie is stereotypical Barbie in the film. And there's lots of other Barbies, so they're all different Barbies of different races, and there's even a plus size Barbie who's slightly bigger than the other Barbies. It was actually released as a real doll, but I don't know whether, I've never seen one. And I still think that overall Barbie sort of provides something to be aspired to in a way. I read a little bit about it, and over the last few years they've made a Barbie with a hearing aid, they've made a Barbie with a guide dog, they've had a Barbie in a wheelchair, they've had a Down syndrome Barbie. So I think they're trying to be inclusive, but maybe they're just trying to satisfy a certain demographic and stop them turning against Barbie, because at the end of the day, Mattel are a toy sales company, and so I found that there's a tension in the film between the fact that they just want to sell more Barbie dolls, and they are probably going to sell more Barbie dolls because of this film, and then they seem to be trying to make a serious social point, a serious point about our society, which is that it's still quite male dominated, and I don't know, I enjoyed the light-hearted and frivolous aspects of the film. I enjoyed the colours, I enjoyed the costumes, I enjoyed the dancing, and the whole sort of trying to make the point about society. I didn't really find it particularly compelling. Having said that, I gather that from research it has made a difference, and that quite a lot of men who've watched it have become more aware of discrimination in the workplace and that kind of thing, that when they look at it they realise there are a lot more male bosses than there are women in most industries. And so I suppose that's a good thing. I found the portrayal of the Kens quite interesting. So it's meant to be like the opposite of real society. So the Kens are not really considered when decisions are being made. And you might say, oh, that doesn't really apply in society today. But I was just reading the other day, apparently most car safety standards, seatbelt designs, and everything was all based around like the average man, so that they weren't designed with women in mind at all. I know that that is the case with a lot of medical studies. It's changing, but historically, like most of medicine has been based upon men. So looking at cardiac risk and all of that, most of the research was done on men. But I don't know. I just found the film a bit questionable in that, on the one hand, it's supposed to be trying to make a serious point about society. On the other hand, it's it's a marketing ploy. So I don't know. Now, the other thing is, to me, the ideal society is one where neither sex is in charge and dominant over the other inherently because of their gender. So, you know, the outcome of the Barbie film, I hope this doesn't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but the Kens have been quite oppressed in Barbie land. They haven't had any rights as such. They haven't been able to serve on the Supreme Court. No idea what kind of court cases will go on in Barbie land. They haven't been able to be judges, and they don't even have houses. So all the houses are Barbie houses. There are no Ken houses. And in the end, the Barbies decide to give the Kens like the same rights that real women have in the real world. So the proportion of judges, for example, on the Supreme Court bench, which is like 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 or something. And I think they really should have gone further and made it an equal society. Why not just set the example instead of reflecting like a mirror image, as if that was okay? So yeah, okay, Kens, you can have the pittance that we're going to dole out to you. You can have the minimum of rights, and that's okay, because like it isn't okay if they weren't just dolls. It isn't okay. So if they're trying to make a serious point, my view is they should have gone further and given the Kens equality, because after all, that's what women are striving for: equality, and equality of opportunities, and equality of rights. So we've come a long way from when I was a child in terms of the rights that we have as women, and in our by our societies, I guess I mean what traditionally seen as Western societies, come so far compared with many other countries where women don't even have the right to have an education, or choose who they marry, or all of those things. But still, there's a definite imbalance there, which I think it's hard for men to see sometimes, because they haven't grown up feeling like they're always the afterthought, and they're always the second, almost like second rate. What's the word for it? I can't remember. Yeah, just being like second rate in society. Women traditionally have been, you know, my mum couldn't open a bank account without my dad's permission until the 1970s, that kind of thing. So guys have never really known what that was like, well, certainly not since when the mid-19th century, I think, when all working men got the right to vote in England. But I don't think we should be making it an us and them. I think we should be making it an equal society. And that's my thoughts on the matter. So another day I might talk about who some of my role models were growing up, or female role models, or maybe even male role models too. Yeah, or just role models in general. But I haven't got time to do that today. I hope that was interesting. Not sure it was, but anyway, have a good week, and I'll do another little chat next week. Bye bye.